More now in tonight's top story, what Christine Blasey Ford's legal team wants as conditions for her testimony against Brett Kavanaugh. They want Thursday as the date, not to have Judge Kavanaugh in the room with her at the same time, and questioning by senators, not outside counsel. Of course, the question hanging over all of this will be about credibility and believability.
This is Anderson Vanderbilt, Cooper. Definitely do not look that up. He, which is probably not Anderson Cooper's preferred pronoun, is most well known for being a victim of severe bullying at his local gym, in which one of those ultra-common locker room Chinese cell phone hackers disassembled his Hello Kitty combo lock with Okinawan katas, gained access to his phone, managed to bypass Twitter's two-factor authentication, then capitalized on the Prague imam's fame by, this makes complete sense, tweeting tween belieber fantasies at President Donald Trump. While not repping kettlebells in the mirror while doing colon kegels, Cooper has also built a stellar reputation for finding topographical low points to facilitate the creation of anti-American propaganda. Speaking of which,
Randi Kaye spoke with a group of Republican women in Florida.
A show of hands, how many of you believe Judge Kavanaugh when he says this didn't happen?
Producer vacancy at CNN. This is 51-year-old CNN investigative reporter Randi Kaye. She is most well known for hiring a Tibetan truck driver to attach a winch to her balding scalp, then cut the jig brake and bomb the Kangshung face until her eyelids were sucked into the hollow cavity where her brain is supposed to be.
I believe him.
I do believe him.
I believe him.
How can we believe?
Before we enjoy the accidental entertainment value of the dumpster fire sometimes referred to as CNN, there are several elements of manipulation by these assholes already going on here that are worth mentioning. The first, and the reason I stopped at this seemingly random point in the video, is to remind you that 90% of what these women said is lost forever on the CNN cutting room floor. When panels like these are recorded, and this in and of itself is hardly corrupt, the producers will ensure they have more material than they actually need and are of course aiming to slice it down to a predetermined length. Where corruption creeps in is when said editing is done in a way to present or infer information different than the interviewee's intent. I imagine you're wondering why in the hell CNN would let such a humiliating segment air on their network. Surely this contradicts the notion that CNN is 100% biased against conservatives. In reality, the opposite is true. This panel is what might be referred to as a controlled burn. Watch the cut again. Notice how the woman in red, who is nodding in the initial clip, is suddenly asking an incredulous what to an unheard question.
When he says this didn't happen.
I believe him.
I do believe him.
I believe him.
How can we believe?
Hopefully that's enough to demonstrate that this end product is non-linear, as in non-chronological. We then get an explanation from the woman in glasses and a second non-linear cut to what seems like her final conclusion of, sorry, I don't buy it.
Believe the word of a woman or something that happened 36 years ago when this guy has an impeccable reputation. There was nobody that has spoken ill will about him. Everyone that speaks about him, this guy's an altar boy, a scout. He's, because one woman made an allegation. Sorry, I don't buy it.
Though you likely found yourself agreeing with everything she said, because, it makes complete f***ing sense, recall that CNN has zero interest whatsoever in reaching anyone remotely rational. What they really wanted was a clip of a Republican defending Kavanaugh rather than attacking his accuser. Even otherwise intelligent pundits and content creators seem to be falling into this ancient liberal trap. The Kavanaugh accuser, Christine Ford, is so utterly full of shit that it doesn't bear rehashing the many inconsistencies, holes, and already proven lies contained within her sexual propagantasy. If you want some direct evidence for red pill distribution, do some mild digging into her high school yearbooks, which were archived shortly before being scrubbed from the internet, but that is both a waste of time and beside the point. The only thing that needs to be said, which incidentally is the exact way in which our legal system is supposed to work, is, Christine Ford, I don't believe you. Let's hear the story under oath right now. This is, of course, the essence of the reaction of Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley. So let's eschew the seemingly infinite evidence in Kavanaugh's favor and allow these 5 fine mind mills to restore our faith in American women.
But in the grand scheme of things, my goodness, there was no intercourse. There was maybe a touch.
Right.
Can we really? 36 years later, she's still stuck on that? Had it happened?
I mean, we're talking about a 15-year-old girl, which I respect. I'm a woman, I respect. And we're talking about a 17-year-old boy in high school with testosterone running high. Tell me what boy hasn't done this in high school. Please, I would like to know.
Quick point of manipulation number 2. CNN, like every other news network, normally updates its chyrons to reflect the content of the interview. If you don't know, a chyron is the image and text superimposed over the main video. What normally happens on CNN is that a random guest says something like, "I knew Brett Kavanaugh in high school, but not that well," and the chyron changes to something like, "Childhood friend can't say with confidence that Kavanaugh wasn't serial rapist." For those of us who have to watch CNN at length, the lack of chyron updates was glaring. Still further, the disconnect between what was being said and what was being pushed was at best random and unrelated, and at worst, and right in the middle of all 5 of these Athenas saying the exact opposite, it was blatant anti-Kavanaugh propaganda.
Why would she come forward if this wasn't true? Because it has basically destroyed her family. She's had to move, she's gone undercover, she's gotten death threats. So if she's lying, why come forward?
That would be a great question for Juanita Broderick or Danny Williams.
She's also destroying his life, his wife's lives, his children's lives, his career. I mean, why didn't she come out sooner if she's telling the truth?
Right to bear arms, Athena, drawing truth power from the mystical JC medallion over her heart, Socratically returns Saran Wrap Skeleton Randi Kaye serve with a thermonuclear question of her own, so on point that Socrates himself hiked back across the Elysian field, swam the river Styx, and rose orphically from Hades just to say, damn.
Why didn't she come out when he was going into the Bush White House? Why didn't she come out when he's been a federal judge for over a decade?
Absolute last face you want to see when you're caught sneaking home from a party, Athena, in addition to eliciting a second damn from our Hellenic bromosexual, expertly captures the expression most of us are wearing while watching this show unfold. There's the ocular disbelief, the holy shit, this is real life angry smile, the knife-like hands, and the forward-leaning posture of aggression, as if to say, if you weren't already a cadaver, I'd kill you on principle to prevent genetic degenerative brain diseases.
Been a federal judge for over a decade.
Why not
Who caught the cut?
have a thorough investigation instead of just the 2 of them, he said, she said?
Because it doesn't matter. It does not matter.
Apologies to seen this too many times, Athena, because this is the most deceptive edit yet and one that self-taught editors are very familiar with. It's called an L cut because in video editing software with separate video and audio tracks, it looks like the letter L. First, you can probably tell that this woman said quite a bit more than "it doesn't matter." You'll notice that the edited product cuts away from her face while her voice continues a moment longer.
What everyone else has to say.
What everyone else has to say.
We're made to believe that this was all she said, and that "get it away from me" Randi Kaye's reaction and ensuing complete subject change happened quickly and organically. In reality, it's highly likely that seen this too many times, Athena went on to articulately explain why it doesn't matter, and in the process spanked CNN's fake news narrative so badly that the majority of her comments were, for CNN's purposes anyway, totally unusable. Randi Kaye likely continued to sit there, frozen like a retarded deer in the plastic surgery operating room headlights, weathered the storm knowing she could just cut it all, and then tactically change the subject.
This is what happened, though, with Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill. The FBI investigated, it took 3 days, done. Why not now?
Well, this is not the same. This is a high school kid. I mean, it's not Anita Hill story.
I'm not sure why Randi Kaye is bringing up the Clarence Thomas confirmation hearing when it might be the single most red-pilling event for Black Americans when it comes to Democrats, but I would in no way mind seeing Brett Kavanaugh have a similar reaction.
The Supreme Court is not worth it. No job is worth it. I'm not here for that. I'm here for my name, my family, my life, and my integrity. I think something is dreadfully wrong with this country when any person in this free country would be subjected to this. This is not a closed room. There was an FBI investigation. This is not an opportunity to talk about difficult matters privately or in a closed environment. This is a circus. It's a national disgrace. And from my standpoint, as a Black American, as far as I'm concerned, it is a high-tech lynching for uppity blacks who in any way deign to think for themselves, to do for themselves, to have different ideas. And it is a message that unless you kowtow to an old order, this is what will happen to you. You will be lynched, destroyed, caricatured. by a committee of the U.S. Senate rather than hung from a tree.
This is what happened, though, with Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill. The FBI investigated. It took 3 days. Done. Why not now?
Well, this is not the same. This is a high school kid. I mean, it's not Anita Hill story.
Does something that allegedly happened some 30-plus years ago matter today?
You can't judge the character of a man based on what he did at 17.
And I would hate to think that 30, 40 years later, somebody's going to destroy your life because somewhere at some party, it's not right, but maybe you touch somebody the way you were not supposed to.
And who brought the alcohol for these kids?
Though that is a pretty f***ing hilarious damn from Don Corleone, Athena, perhaps you're now understanding what CNN's intent was here. I am certain that the vast majority of this conversation involved all 5 of the Athenas asserting that the entire accusation against Kavanaugh is bullshit. But this shitty propaganda is still propaganda, and its shittiness makes it useful as a didactic tool for recognizing the much larger, slicker, and more insidious propaganda that surrounds you on a daily basis.
The way you were
not supposed to. And who brought the alcohol for these kids?
As women, though.
Hey, remember that time I mentioned L-cuts? Part 1, both women are sitting to Randi Kaye's right, and one is not just in the middle of enumerating her points on her fingers, but her final word is and.
The way you were
and
not
who
supposed
brought the alcohol for these kids?
Part 2, while the audio from the women on the right continues, Randi Kaye is, hey nobody pay attention to this shit, looking at the women on her left, and then changes the subject. Also, as women.
As women, though, do you have some sympathy for her, for what she's going through?
No, I have no sympathy.
I think my favorite part of this circus is how the sound bites that are supposed to make conservative women look bad make them look so fucking good. That's it for today. If you enjoyed this content, please like, share, and subscribe, and if you'd like to see more of it, consider supporting this channel through one-time PayPal donations, Patreon, or by purchasing a shirt or song. I'm John Ward, and until next time, remember, you're a world champion. Don't let your memes be dreams.
Is that Ruth Bader Ginsburg or is it Darth Vader's intern? Something seems sinister since WikiLeaks minding, but fuck the internet, I ain't tired of winning. I'm down to spend a good minute chilling with Minutemen and women putting Dems in a prison. Is that Ruth Bader Ginsburg or is it Lucifer's sister? Something's amiss when the skin on your face say fuck it, I quit. You know I ain't tired of winning. I'm down to spend a good minute chilling with prison staff.